So we recently wrapped up the 2023 maple syrup season, and I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of the process that we went through this year. We really streamlined how we collected and cooked down our sap, and it went really well. We ended with about 17-18 gallons again. Both of the kids pitched in with filming this year, so if the camera is a little bit shaky or wobbly, that is why. They did a pretty good job for being 5 and 7, but yeah, we gotta work on their camera skills a little bit yet. So one of the biggest changes we had this year from last year, which you saw earlier, is that we were using a big collection tank system for collecting all of the sap into. We had our individual buckets, obviously, for each tree, but then we were just carrying them and emptying them into that tank instead of needing to carry 6 buckets at a time in the four-wheeler back to the house and coming back and forth. This went from several hours of collecting sap a day to about a 30 to 45 minute process, which saved us just so much time. It was insane. So here's what that tank looks like, and then you can see it holds a lot of sap. We never even came close to filling it. I think the most we had, it was about halfway full, and then obviously when it was really cold out, a lot of the sap was frozen, so it stayed nice and cool. And the big change to the cooker system is Dan put it up on a trailer with wheels, so it is movable and just easier to work with. So putting it up on wheels did make it, a little difficult with adding buckets, but when it was low, we would just lift the whole tank up and fill it straight from there. Otherwise, if it only needed a little bit, we'd just do bucket by bucket, and we kind of had it set at a certain, depth of liquid that we wanted it at. He also added this little tubing for more airflow. He also added like a slide bar that we could slide that pan off of to get it off of the heat immediately when we needed to, and then set it up so we could put a filter right off of that. Instead of doing a bunch of smaller batches, we were going to do just a few really big finishing batches, and we were going to finish it right in this pan this year, which made it interesting for testing it and then filtering it and bottling it all. When you're finishing 5-10 gallons at a time, it is a mess, but it's a lot better than doing a gallon or 2 a time. Somehow we always manage to be finishing these batches of syrup at night in the dark, so finishing by headlight and lamplight and flashlight, and it was just craziness. If you have finished syrup before, you know that it needs to be hot when you finish it, and you can only really do a couple gallons per filter, and then the filters clog and you need to be switching them out. So that is definitely the biggest pain of the process. There's a lot of stopping and starting and trying to make sure your syrup is still hot enough, but also retesting it to make sure it's not being overcooked. And it can be a little bit crazy and stressful, especially when you're doing 8 gallons of syrup at a time. But we managed to get it done, and we are making plans to streamline it even more next year to just continually ease up the process on us. And yeah, I don't know, we're happy with how the year went. I think we did it all in about 2 weeks. I don't know how many taps we put out or how many trees we tapped, because we didn't really pay attention, because we didn't care. We're gonna do it until we got sick of it, and that's what we did. And we're definitely happy that we're done, and that we also have our massive syrup stash, which I'll be turning into sugar as usual. We save some, but most goes to sugar. And yeah, happy 2023 syrup season.